So, how is everybody? How is the afternoon? Awesome. That actually didn't sound so good. How was the afternoon? Much better. Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm here to talk about, well, data. It is the lifeblood of every organization, and it powers critical operations. And in fact, our businesses depend on it being accessible 24/7. Yet, we often take for granted that we're always going to have the resources that we need to power and cool the data centers that our data stands in and sits in, and where it's stored and accessed and managed. In reality, ensuring that your data is actually always available and supported, well, it's no small feat. And so managing that data infrastructure to meet the ever-growing needs of your business, as well as managing all of those costs that are associated with power and space and cooling to operate the infrastructure, well, it's become a critical problem for most organizations. So how much energy do these data centers actually cost? So let's try to understand the scale of this for a moment. Andy, do you know how much you spend on your power bill?
Unfortunately, I do.
You do. OK, so we're going to use that as a baseline. So in California alone, the 260+ data centers, they consume the equivalent or the same amount of energy as 1.8 million homes. And then in Texas, there's 300 data centers. And that energy consumption, 3.75 million homes. The power consumption created by data centers truly is mind-boggling. And as we tackle the tsunami of resources that AI is actually requiring, and the inevitable power demand surges that happen on data centers, well, oh, whoa, hang on. We got a code red here. Hang on. Now my flashlight's not even working, you guys. Oh, OK. Kyle, bring the lights up. This is like too much of a code red here. All right. So if that happened to your organization, it'd be pretty urgent, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Somebody answered. Yes. So we need to be thinking about it now so that we don't wind up in the dark. Yes, thank you. So we've seen the headline. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's laughing at my bad dad joke. So we've seen the headlines, right? We understand the challenges, and we've got the power to actually make the right decisions. All of you do. And Pure's obviously here to help. So the good news, Pure has been on a mission from day one to reduce the power and energy footprint that our data infrastructure requires. So we've been partnering with world-class partners to provide the approaches and the solutions that our customers need to reduce energy costs, increase efficiency, and use less power. So customers like Virgin Media O2, it's a UK telecom provider. So they've been using Pure Storage solutions that are actually powered with Intel processors. And they saw a 90% reduction in data center floor space and an incredible 96% reduction in consumption. And so it's pretty incredible when you think about it. So speaking of Intel, I'm very, very excited to sit down with Merlin Kister, who is the Senior Director of Product Sustainability, Strategy, and Execution at Intel. And he's actually going to talk about his view on sustainability, what Intel is doing to focus on solution, and how all of you can get ahead of the power problem. So before Merlin comes to the stage, I do want to ask you to watch this quick video.
What is the spark for the dreamers who do? They dream of a life with no diseases, of cleaner, greener, more reliable energy, of advancing education by bringing AI everywhere. Intel is the spark to start something new, to know that no dream is too daring when you have the right foundation. It starts with Intel.
Well, There we have it. It starts with Intel.
Yes, it
Merlin,
does.
great to see you.
Thank you so
And thank you so much for being here. You're such a valued partner to Pure, and we couldn't be more thrilled that you came and sat here on the stage and talked a little bit about one of my favorite topics.
Well, thank you for having me. What a great conference so far, everybody, don't you think? Terrific, terrific. So I'm glad we're here and we can talk a little bit about Intel and talk about Intel and Pure's relationship as well.
Absolutely.
So, Intel's been an environmental steward for decades. It's part of our mission. Our mission is to enrich the lives of everyone on the planet. And so we kind of view that environmental stewardship as part of our DNA. And we're really proud of our accomplishments, not just because of us as a company, but what they can do for the planet. For example, we use 99% renewable electricity for our global operations, which is absolutely incredible if you think about that number. We send 6% of our waste to landfill. We're net positive in 4 countries for water, including the US and India. You're going to ask me about emissions, though, I'm sure. You're going to say, what do we do about emissions? So over the past year, we had a reduction of 43% of our greenhouse gas emissions, which is just incredible.
That's pretty impressive.
We have, thank you, thank you. Really great work from our manufacturing team. So I'm on the product side, and my team's role and responsibility is to ensure that all the products that you use, or the platforms, services, and solutions that Intel develops and delivers, are as sustainable as possible. And what that means is really looking at the energy efficiency of them and also recyclability or circularity.
Absolutely. Well, when you think about the space and the energy consumption, how does it tie into Intel's sustainability initiatives?
Well, I look at it from you have to take a holistic view of everything, right? And storage is such an essential piece of the data center. You can see great stats on the screens. You mentioned data center energy consumption. It's 1% to 3% of global energy consumption. If you think about that, that number is huge. And storage is 20 to 25% of that. So doing things and helping the world buy better storage solutions really can make a difference. I'm glad that Intel and Pure are working together collaboratively, and we've developed innovations and technology to increase not only density, but energy efficiency.
Well, Merlin, one of the things that we've spent the last couple days talking about is AI. In fact, it's probably the thing we've been spending the most amount of time on in the last few months. So can you talk to me a little bit about how is the workload that AI is creating, how is it different from what we've seen in the past? And really, what's so unique about it that it's driving so much energy consumption?
Well, I think you said your talk was about data. And AI is all about data. And I think everyone knows, right? We're all living in this world. We're seeing that data tsunami, right, come at us. Interesting stats on AI. GPT-4, that was trained on 13 trillion tokens. Think about that. That's roughly 10 trillion words.
Are there even that many words in the dictionary?
I don't know. They have to reuse some because 10 trillion, I can't even comprehend that. The models themselves are inherently complex, which means that you need to use special processors like accelerators or general purpose processors with accelerators built in. What we're seeing, though, is, and we talk about the AI being the future, but it's here now. GPT 3.5, many of you have all of you used OpenAI or ChatGPT? I'm sure, right? So the precursor to that, not even the model that's used there, but GPT 3.5, that used 1,300 megawatt hours of electricity. That's a lot. And I know it's hard to comprehend when you see these big numbers. That's as much electricity as used by 128 homes in the US for a year. So it's creating this insatiable demand. So as we have to give this special processing power to make AI, the models work, the inference work, we're seeing a lot of energy consumption. And the energy is being constrained in many areas. It's just not there. For example, in London, in Dublin, Amsterdam, Singapore, even the Silicon Valley, it's affecting data center build-out because the energy is just not there.
Well, I was just reading an article a couple weeks ago about some companies that were looking to buy land so they could build their data centers on. And the city or county in which they actually bought in said, hey, well, good on you that you bought this, but we can't even power it for you. So good luck there.
Yes.
So how are you seeing that come into play?
Well, this is a big impact. And as we've gone out and we've talked to many of your companies, right? Many of you probably in the audience, right? We've done surveys. We know that space and power capacity is critical. So these issues are becoming more front of mind, as they should be. Power consumption and density are being scrutinized like no other. And of course, it's probably reasonable to expect, right? So from a density perspective, if I can have more storage with less square footage, I may not have to build out or build another data center. I may not have to scale out, which, by the way, I wouldn't have the electricity or the energy to supply it. The same thing's happening on processing power. So I want to make sure that I can deliver as much processing power as possible within a power envelope. So that's driving efficiency of processing. Now, you mentioned before, or actually you had that interesting, I guess, kind of demonstration of the power going out right here.
Is it really as dramatic as that? I mean, can that actually happen? Should folks be worried about the data center actually just powering down and losing it?
Well, it's certainly a risk. And I think it's something that we all just need to understand. Now, it could be something that's just degrades your operations, but how many of you want to have degraded operations? Nobody, right? But it could also be even worse than that, similar to like a cybersecurity event. This is all kind of doom and gloom, though. I want to make sure that I leave you with good news. And the good news is it is preventable with the right actions right now.
Well, so much of this audience actually plays a critical role in the decisions and management of the data center. So if you had some words of advice on how they could make sort of a huge impact, maybe what's some low-hanging fruit on how to increase efficiency in their own data center, what would that be?
Sure. I think the first one is driving awareness of the need to manage your energy and space. And I think if you start to have the conversation or do the analysis, you need to look at cost, reliability, business continuity, but then you can't forget about the benefits. And you mentioned one earlier with Virgin. I was hearing you in the back, which I think is just absolutely incredible. Using Pure and an Intel solution, 96% energy reduction, a 90% floor space reduction. That's a huge impact. Imagine going to your management, your C-suite, and saying, hey, I can bring you a solution today that delivers those great benefits. Then I would say, have that conversation and then assess your current needs, right? What are you looking for to do today? How do you maximize what you have? I would say, because I'm from Intel, use the latest Intel energy efficient processors. With Xeon, which Pure is using, we have built-in accelerators. Thank you very much. Built-in accelerators for compression and encryption. And that's allowed us to deliver to your customers, all of you here, 3 times better performance per watt, right? These are real numbers that provide real advantages and a difference. Finally, I would say, find your allies. Find your partners who are committed to driving solutions for sustainability or energy efficiency in space, as you are, like Pure and Intel.
I love it, and I love the partnership. Well, I was listening to Balaji earlier this afternoon. He was doing an AI breakout session, and he talked about data being fuel for AI. And all I could think of in my head was AI. Does that actually stand for additional infrastructure? Yeah. So, I mean, help me understand. What should we be thinking about there? Is that what it really means?
Well, it can, and we're seeing that build out. The build outs are starting to happen everywhere. So as your companies look to develop more AI solutions, again, we talked earlier about large language models, but most likely all of you here are probably not going to be developing or building your own large language model, but you are going to be having smaller models and probably many of them. So you're still going to have to do a lot of training or using RAG or inference.
Yeah. Well, I know that we have about a minute left here, and I know everybody is very anxious to get to our next speaker. So I love a good lightning round. Are you with me?
Okay.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. We didn't practice this, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know Would You Rather? You know how to play?
I think, okay.
Okay,
All right.
Here we go. Well, we'll be nice. I'm going to give you like a humdinger. Like,
right.
you'll be fine.
Maybe I can
right?
ask the audience to help me too.
Okay, we'll be okay.
Maybe
We're
would
gonna
we rather?
No. It's going to be would you rather.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather pay the electricity bill for all of Las Vegas for a month, or pay for the cost of California data centers for a week?
Ooh. Well, I heard you talk about California data centers.
Yeah.
And California electric bills. I live in Oregon. California electric bills are much higher than ours.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
But there's a lot of lights in Vegas. Are the data centers running pure flash?
Ooh, I like the way you're thinking. I'm going to go with yes.
Then I'll go with the data centers.
Yes. All right. I love this. Okay. All right, Merlin, if you were a wizard, I bet you've never heard that.
I haven't heard that ever.
Conjure one magical solution that would drastically reduce data center energy consumption. How would it work and why?
How about if I give you two? Is that okay?
Options. I like it.
So power to a data center, about 40% of power consumption in a data center goes to cooling. So I'm sure you're familiar with air cooling as the solution. It's most commonly used. If I could wave a wand, I would have folks switch to liquid cooling, which can dramatically reduce the amount of energy needed to cool the data center. The second one, of course I have to say, storage, right? I'd have to go with flash storage, right? And get that, if I can get a 96% reduction in energy on my storage part, which would be 20 to 25%, I could reduce 60% of energy consumption of data center like that, if I could do that.
Well, your name is Merlin.
There you go.
So, all right, now Merlin, you have been at Intel for 24 years. I have to imagine that you've seen some pretty amazing technology trends from internet to mobile, and now we're in this crazy AI space. So what's been the most exciting?
Yeah, they're all exciting in their own way. And for those of you who lived through those, you see how much business transformation and just transformation about just as a personal level of things that you do or you're now able to do have happened over time. So, but when I look back at those transitions and those transformations that have happened and having the hindsight there, but knowing what's going to be coming for AI, I'd have to say AI is most exciting. I really think it's going to change the way we work. And it has the ability to change everyone's job, what we all do every day. So it's like the mobile revolution and the internet transformation, like all together, plus. So I'd have to say I'm most excited for AI. And all of you are going to get to live through it, right? I mean, this is an exciting time to be in technology and even just in the world, right? To see all the great things now that we're going to be able to do that we just couldn't before.
That's so true. And obviously, Intel is at the forefront of it, and we're so excited to be partners with you. And so with that, I think we are going to start moving to our next session. So big round of applause for Merlin Kister, please. So for all of you in the audience, you have the power to be a champion in your own organization, really around that operational efficiency, but also, helping your organization meet its sustainability goals. So let's work on that. We will be empowered together to work on those operational efficiency goals and help the planet in the meantime. So before I introduce our next speaker, I just wanted to talk a few minutes about something that is very, very important to me. So yesterday, we started and kicked off Accelerate with an amazing drum line in honor of Juneteenth. How was that? That was pretty amazing, right? Yes. Well, in the spirit of diversity and inclusion, I want to remind everybody that June is also Pride Month, where we honor and celebrate our LGBTQ community around the world. And so I've seen many of you wearing our new Pride at Pure pin. And if you don't yet have one, I think there's probably a few left. They're at the registration desks. If you don't have one, if there's no more left, I think they have stickers. So please be sure to get one. Some of you may be wondering, hey, why are there additional colors that are represented on this pin? And so I wanted to share with you that this is the Pride Progress pin, or the Pride Progress flag. And for a little bit of historical context, in 2018, Black, brown, light blue, pink, and white triangle stripes were added to advocate for progress and also to highlight inclusion of our transgender and LGBT people of color. So please wear your pride or your sticker. Please wear your pin or your sticker with pride. And I will leave you with this. Lead with pure, but always lead with love.